Hello students, Namaste, welcome to Career 360. If you're thinking of doing B.Tech or you are currently doing B.Tech, this might be the most important video for you because a lot of us have this misconception that if you do B.Tech, the job is almost guaranteed. And that's where parents invest a lot of money, 20-25 lakh rupees. If you don't get a public institution, you get into a private institution because you think that after investing 20-25 lakhs in 4 years of your life, you will for sure get a job. This might have been true a few years back, but no longer is it true at this point in time. Recently, Jensen Huang, who is the CEO of NVIDIA is the highest market cap company in the world at this point in time. Its market cap is $4 trillion. It's twice as much as Google. And when the CEO of NVIDIA, who's Jensen Huang, was asked, what would you do or what would you advise a student who's 19 years old and what they must study? He said, study physics. The other side of it, Elon Musk, the richest man in the world, he was also asked a similar question and he also said, I will study physics for my future. Why do they say that? It's because artificial intelligence or AI is eating into everything that we're about to look at in terms of the tech landscape. The tech landscape is changing dramatically. What was true 5 years back or 15 years back doesn't hold true at this point in time. Let's put some numbers into context so that you understand where I come from. In 2012, the total number of engineering colleges in the country was about 3,371. In 23-24, it grew to 8,876. And possibly it will be about 9,000 plus today. That's almost a 175% growth. Now that growth has happened obviously because lots of companies were recruiting lots of many people in the tech landscape. Most tech people were finding employment some way or the other. And because of that, the number of engineering colleges grew, the number of students who were pursuing CS and IT also grew dramatically. If you look at it, that I talked of the number of colleges, the number of students who were doing B.Tech, and I'm talking the first, second, third and fourth year all combined together, in 2010-11 was about 23.4 lakh. But by 23-24, this jumped to 42.37 lakh. That's an 81% growth. So suddenly what you have is about in 12-13 years, your growth are almost doubled in terms of the number of people who are pursuing B.Tech. But the real story starts here. Because while the number of students who starts doing B.Tech almost doubled by about 20 lakh, the number of students who actually started doing CS and IT, and not core engineering, the CS and IT almost quadrupled. So the entire growth that you actually saw in B.Tech was contributed by the growth in the students who are actually doing CS and IT and those kind of services. The number of students in 2010 was 4.75 lakh who were doing CS and IT, and in 23-24 it was 21.62 lakh. In my opinion, at this point in time, it will be about close to 23 lakh. That's a 4-time jump or more than 4 times jump. So the entire growth in the number of students who are pursuing B.Tech did not come from core engineering or engineering, but came from the CS and ITS services. And there is nothing wrong with that, by the way, because in those days, you go back 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, 15 years back, the number of students who were getting employed in ITES companies, which is the IT-enabled services is what we call, which is the Infosys, the TCS, the Wipro, the Cognizant, the Accenture, HCL Tech, Tech Mahindra, all these companies were recruiting by the hordes. Each of them was jumping over each other to recruit 30,000, 40,000, 50,000 students from the campuses. But this no longer holds true. Because, for example, from 2010 to 2025, Infosys total headcount grew from 1.27 lakh to 3.17 lakh. The TCS headcount grew from 1.6 lakh to 6 lakh 6,000, which is a 278% growth. Accenture grew from 2 lakh 4,000 to almost close to 8 lakh, which is 291% or 3 times the growth. So very clearly, these companies over the last 15 years have grown dramatically, and so to that extent, they were dependent heavily on recruiting from the engineering college campuses. But this was only till 2023, and let me tell you why. By the way, while all these things were happening, recently you would have read this news of how TCS is about to lay off about 12,000 people. They of course say that it's largely to do with mid-level and senior level hires, but trust me, this will all have an impact at the fresher recruitment also. Because when you remove the middle layer, it doesn't mean that everything. Typically, AI replaces the fresher level jobs, not the mid-level jobs or the senior level jobs. Unless it's a question of reskilling and redeployment that is happening. But while all this is happening, the number of colleges have grown up, the number of students who are pursuing B.Tech grew up, and the number of students who were pursuing B.Tech in CS and IT grew dramatically by about 4 times in the last 10-15 years. The salary almost remained constant. In 2007, the salary of a fresher joining TCS was 3.15 lakh. In 2025, it is 3.36 lakh. That is just 21,000 rupees growth. And if you actually index it to inflation, because inflation is the reality, every year the inflation is 6-7% in the country. Then if you index it to inflation, the real salary of a fresher who is joining TCS fell by 60%. And when you look at Infosys also, that fell by about 50%, close to 50%. So you actually have a situation now where the number of students who are pursuing CS is going up, the number of colleges are going up, the number of students pursuing B.Tech is growing up, but the salaries are remaining constant, and companies like TCS and all, for the first time, are announcing layoffs. And that is a real worry. Now, if you have to split this since the advent of AI and start looking at how did the recruitment or from the campuses happen since 23, I relate it back to the headcount, because there is no authoritative source to tell you how many students they recruited from campus, but for some press releases. But they're ad hoc, and I don't want to go there. TCS, the headcount in 2023 was 6,14,000. In headcount in 2025 is 6,07,000. So actually it fell by 1%. Mind you, earlier it was growing about 10-15% year on year. Because of it, it trebled. Right? Now it has actually fallen over the last 2 years. Infosys was 3.43 lakh headcount in 2023. And this is a number that I'm taking from the annual report of these companies, by the way. And at this point in 2025, the headcount is 3,20,000, which means the headcount fell by 6.77%. Wipro, it fell by 9.22%. So what was a hiring which was actually increasing the headcount in each of these companies till 2023 started falling since 2023. And very clearly this is because of multiple factors that we'll discuss as we move along, but the headcount of all these companies is falling, which essentially means that they're recruiting lesser and they're also laying off more. The recruitment also that is happening at the fresher level is to replace an existing headcount, and not because there is increased supply, increased demand, and because of which they want to hire more people. Jefferies, which is a research company based out of US, released recently a research report which is largely to do with the world tech hiring and also specific to India. There are two things that it talks of. It talks of how clients are asking for more work to be performed by a similar number of employees. So if you have X number of people, say 10 people working with you, they would want more work to be extracted from those 10 people. Or if the work remains the same, they want the 10 people to come down to 8 people. So essentially there are two kinds of companies. The first one, which is extracting more work from the same number of employees, in which case there is no layoff. But when they say, listen, the same work has to be done by lesser people because I don't have more work to give to you, then it leads to layoffs. And Jefferies talks very clearly about the repetitive work. When you actually have rule-based functions that are there, which are highly objective, repeatable, and transferable, then the jobs come down because AI can do it better. Testing engineers, application testers, QA testers, software test engineers, QA engineers, all these fall under the rule-based function. In fact, when you look at the ITES, which is the IT-enabled services companies that we have in the country, which are the big recruiters from the campuses, the total headcount that they have, 36 to 40% people perform rule-based functions, which means that all these jobs are up for question mark in terms of whether you need so many people to perform those kind of functions. It will not vanish, but it will come down dramatically because the rule-based functions and AI can perform it far better. So there are two things that are happening at this point in time. AI is disrupting. At the entry-level, repetitive jobs are out there in question, and because of which the companies that were earlier hiring 30-40,000 people or having 3 lakh people do the job would make do with the same job at 2,70,000 because they know that rule-based functions can be, agentic AI can replace them. The other thing is the companies that were hiring our IT-enabled services in India, the foreign companies that were giving demand, work to Indian companies, those companies also have deployed AI, because of which the amount of work that they were passing on as an outsourcing thing also seems to be coming down. So there is demand softness. So you have two situations now, that the companies are not getting as much demand as they were getting earlier, and two, whatever demand they have, they can do it with lesser number of people. Both these things are a double whammy for the student. And this is not limited to India. Microsoft recently announced 15,000 people to be laid off globally. AWS is talking of how its cloud division is going to reduce its manpower. The Google also talked of how AI momentum and slumping demand would lead to some layoffs. Meta announced it. Intel recently removed about 3,000 plus people from their California facility, and this will expand geographically beyond California. That is for sure. So at every single level, you actually see that companies are reducing the number of people that they were hiring. And to that extent, while we actually have a situation where there are more software engineers being produced by the country. And the salary is remaining constant. So all these three functions are going to act in tandem. And that is what you should be careful about. Again, let me repeat this. My simple advice to the students is the demand is not going to vanish, but it will shift. The paper credential, which is a B.Tech degree, will not get you a job unless you have a proof of skill. You simply can't walk into a college and walk out with a degree and say, I'm a B.Tech engineer and I need a job. It's not going to work that way unless you have a proof of skill. The industry exposure, which is internships, are very, very essential, because if you have internship, then you have a greater certainty of getting a job. If you don't have internship, trust me, you will be facing the wall when it comes to actual placement process. So start demanding from the institutions that you need internships. And lastly and most importantly, hedge your bets. If you're into finance and technology, just ensure that you actually have a financial domain understanding so that the fintech will work better or an agri-tech will work better, and so on and so forth. And you should be able to work remote, you should be able to be freelancing, all those options must be out there. And then the plan B, which is that assuming you don't find a job of your liking, start having a plan B, which is write your GRE, write your GMAT, do masters either in technology or MBA or whatever, but have your plan B. If you don't have your plan B and this recruitment glitch or slump will hit you, then you don't know how to deal with that, and that might be a problem for you. So again, to all students who are pursuing B.Tech and are about to choose B.Tech as their career path, be very careful. Keep your options open, understand the market conditions, understand how AI is going to impact you, and then start making your plan, because then you will be better prepared to face this tough ride. Thank you so much. Namaste.